This is our project called Heatbreaker, and it's presented by Rosie, Dine and
Matthew Gammage.
Our project is a games controller made out of a joystick, a button, a DH11 sensor, a 10K resistor, some male to female wires, an Arduino Uno and a breadboard. It's essentially a brick breaker game, but the size of the paddle is controlled by a heat sensor. The more heat applied, the larger the paddle.
We made this by connecting the male to female wires to the joystick and having them spread out over not just the Arduino board but also the breadboard, and as well had other normal wires connected, but only to specific points, so that what they were connected to was shared over here on the breadboard. Also on the breadboard we have a normal button for starting a game or pausing it, or even restarting if you complete it. Basic resistor to make sure it works properly. And back here we have the actual sensor itself, whereas it's used, as we explained, the more heat it senses and detects, the higher it will receive the amount in the game, so that the bar will increase in width and make the game, if you like, easier to use.
To begin our project, we researched different sensors and their uses, as well as Arduino boards and some examples of past projects that have been created with them. There was a lot of trial and error, but eventually we settled on the DH11 heat and humidity sensor because of its ease to control. The code, however, was more difficult than we first thought.
When we moved on to the actual code part of this, it was a lot more difficult than assembling the components, because we realized we needed to split the code into two halves. The first half being an Arduino, which allowed us to create the code for the joystick and where the temperature sensor needed to be. And we needed to split it onto another code software called processing, where we added in the details for the game itself. On here we added also other examples, such as the acceleration of how fast the object will move, or even how wide the maximum it could be, depending on how hot it could be. As you can see, the size of the bar at the bottom of our game is larger than it should be, which is because we've added quite a large amount of heat to the sensor. But as you can also see, if you look closely, the size of it is dying down to a smaller size because it's not being able to keep the temperature it's measured. The game will go on until all the blocks are completed, and if you miss, then you can just continue from where you are. This is our project, and this is what we've managed to create.